Off top, in 1457, golf was illegal in England. Play music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. We are joined for the first time in a long time by old friend Pablo Torre, and of course, as usual, Charlie Kravitz, the vanilla snack, who is kind of becoming a big celebrity now. I get so many texts about Charlie, his face popping up different places, and super Charlie fans. It's just, I don't know, I think I'm getting jealous.
I don't know if it's a super Charlie fan that my face was on the computer screen in the background picture of a subreddit called Male Living Spaces, where a guy had a Pop-A-Shot machine and 2 dumbbells on a concrete floor that he was calling his apartment.
Wait, you need to, okay, so hold on. So where were you? What were you in this background?
There's a subreddit that are just pictures of male living spaces. And one of the pictures in there, someone found that there's a monitor in the screen in the background, along with a cot on the floor and a couple of barbells or dumbbells. And on the screen is the vanilla snack in the middle of the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Wow.
And somebody tweeted it to us.
Don't forget the fact that he also has just a foldable Pop-A-Shot
machine. And someone tweeted to us. That was one incident. The other incident was apparently the internet believes that David Dennis Jr. is Charlie Kravitz, which is another, like, he's taking over, man. This man is taking over slowly but surely.
The Kravitz, the Justin Timberlake subreddit has been going nuts. I've also heard about that.
The Kravissance is here. I'm surprised I didn't get anybody to jump on my my off top. That's on Masters weekend. That's a good one, right? Did you know that? You already knew that.
The problem was you pivoted too quickly into trying to gas me up, so I had to be self-deprecating. You had to set me up so I'd make fun of myself to open the opening. But yeah, great off top. Very well done, golf man.
Both extremely white observations, though. So.
That's a fair point.
Noted.
Well, we're doing college football. We're doing a lot of NBA stuff in the show. So, I mean, I tried to please them at the beginning, Pablo.
The outlawing of golf in England, I mean, at the risk of trying to get more detail on something that maybe is just self-explanatory.
Oh no, it's not.
Was golf not what it was?
It was a national security measure made by King James II. He believed that golf was taking people away from practicing archery. It was distracting them from practicing archery, which obviously in the 1400s. Your bow game got to be strong if you're trying to have an empire. You can't be out here with clubs. You got to be out here with the bows.
The archery NIL deals back then were out of control. Absolutely, the economy was tilting in the other direction. We all know that.
Segways available everywhere.
Do you guys want to talk about this college football story? Hard pivot.
It's not a hard pivot. It's a segue available. It's not a hard pivot.
Charlie just segued like a guy who was just a still frame in a room full of dumbbells.
I get the feeling that maybe he can't hear us or something, and he just like, can you hear? Are your headphones acting up, Charlie? We're at 3 different locations, which we normally don't do that show that way.
He also has the fancy, by the way, in New York, my market research, we now know what your audience looks like because, of course, there's that photo of that room. I go around New York doing market research, and I'm realizing that all the people who look like Charlie Kravitz now have the fancy Apple, the big head over the top phones. And now he's struggling with it. He's struggling with his own luxury.
Can't hear anything.
I told you. Yeah. You want to take a 20? We take a 20. You can get some plugins. You can do something else. Yeah, tap your shoulders. Let's take a 20. Yeah, we'll be back. Yeah. I can tell because Charlie's normally
goes in. He's normally get a MagSafe. You got a MagSafe. Charge those.
All right, Charlie's back with functioning equipment. All right, Charlie. I'm not gonna detour us any further. Please set up our first topic.
Okay, so. This is a story that is perfect for you, Domonique. Tennessee's quarterback, Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah,
I just told you guys how to pronounce it and then botched it.
We spent that entire break creating a fake headphone story so we could practice that name, and we still barely got it right.
Nico, not Nico Harrison. He
a lot of Nikos back in the news.
Yeah.
Not a Nico
Tough year
Collins.
for Nikos.
Yeah.
Not a lot of W's for Nikos. Anyway, Tennessee Nico was the number 1 recruit in the country 2 years ago, above Arch Manning. He had the legendary big NIL deal as a high school senior, and now 2 years later, he wanted to renegotiate. He was getting paid somewhere between $2 to $3.1 million a year to play at Tennessee. Did not have the best end to the season. Tried to renegotiate. And Josh Heupel in Tennessee, the day before the spring game, just said, Nico, go kick rocks. Go find a new school. We don't need you here. This is a fascinating next step in what we're learning about the NIL era and athletes being paid in college sports, because we thought this was going to be the wild, wild west. The players are going to decide their fates. This is now just the natural market correction. Teams are taking control back. So what do you think about that, Domonique?
I mean, first of all, Iamaleava is the guy who he was getting paid while he was still in high school, right? And and it was reported to be like an $8 million deal. People were upset about it. I get all of that. I think that a lot of the stories that I've been reading about this feels like a lot of people wish casting. They want this to be some major market correction where power is shifting back to the institutions away from the greedy players. But I'm not sure that I see this as that at all. Like, I think this is a guy who probably isn't as good as he needs to be to pull off this move. Like, that's all it boils down to for me. And it is sometimes I think we get away from this when we're talking about sports. One thing that always matters more than anything else in most cases is, can you ball? And I think he's pretty good with some potential to be great. But if he's great, I think he can pull this move and it's fine. And I think Josh Heupel in Tennessee is trying to they're trying to reframe this in a way. And of course, I'm not in these negotiations, so I don't know all of the details of the situation, but it feels like he stopped answering their calls. He didn't show up to practice. They're framing this as a holdout that they decided not to deal with, when it feels like he said, give me my money. They said, you're not worth it. He stopped answering their phone calls and showing up because he was waiting for the portal to open up, right? Or am I wrong about some detail in there? It just feels like he didn't want to be there. He decided that he didn't want to be there for whatever reason. And Josh Heupel is now trying to reframe it. Him and a bunch of other coaches are coming out and saying, yeah, this is how a program's supposed to be run. If you are in the portal, you're not on the team. Stop it. If your best player said pay me, you would pay him.
Being Mario Cristobal and Jim Nagy from Oklahoma. Yep.
Yeah.
It feels like we're finding out something that we found out throughout all of, Western civilization lately, which is that in the absence of the rule of law, we are relying on norms to govern things. And in this case, the norms ain't that strong. You know, like, look, truly, the way that this story is prevented, and we can prevent all the hand-wringing on all of these sorts of facets, is, are there contracts ever? Are we going to sign contracts? Are we going to get rules in place? Are we going to actually make it so that you're not perpetually negotiating all of the time because you're not actually bound to be anywhere? To me, it just feels like something that can be preempted. And now what we're getting to is the natural point at which all you have to enforce the vibes of law is the idea that he's betraying something. He's betraying teammates. And by the way, on that real argument, right? If you're his teammate and you hate this guy, I get it. Totally understand. The people who say, by the way, Domonique, in counter to that, well, this is what the NFL is like. Well, yes and no, right? Yes, insofar as you have holdouts. No, insofar as typically you're on a contract.
Right. And to your point, we're expecting the norms to hold what there are no norms in this new world. And we are in the wild, wild west. And I don't think this is some correction that is adding more railing and framework to the situation. I think it's a reaction to one isolated situation. And I think every time this happens, if it happens again, things could be different depending on the circumstances. But I will say this one thing about what you bring up, Pablo. Part of the reason why we're not going to a place that has these hard standards is I believe that these schools don't want to have the players as employees. And while we're finding a way to pay them, they're still in creating some kind of cap system. We still are not officially making them employees. And I think until we do that, the institutions will be very careful about not imposing any rules that would suggest that you are treating them like employees, because that opens them up to a whole nother level of legal scrutiny that I don't think that they're interested in participating in. So if they're expecting the team camaraderie and like letting down the man next to you to be the norm that holds, I think that will hold in a lot of cases. But as the years go on, that's going to be a weaker and weaker pull, particularly when we obviously for many years have seen the coaches not be held by that same standard.
Yeah, to me, when it comes to like the larger polling question around this, it's kind of simple. It's, do you think fans of this sport regret the evolution that has been taking place before their eyes? And it's still ongoing, to be very clear. It's still an ongoing survey. But I think if we're going to cop to anything as the people, and we're all here on this show, people who had advocated for change, I think there had been, certainly in the presentation of our side of the argument, an underweighting of how messy this was going to be. Right. And at that point, now it's, how do you feel, Alabaster, Charlie, if you're a fan and you're like, this makes me hate the thing that I love? And again, lots of reasons to argue around whether you should or not, but whether you do, the empirical question of how it polls feels like a real one.
Honestly, I miss the days of being naive and Reggie Bush getting paid under the table and the University of Miami being like the outlaws of college football. I like not knowing any of this stuff and like just hypothesizing who's getting paid what, who's dirty, having it be like a fun, that team's dirty, like they're the weird team. This sucks. Like this, paying, first of all, it is hard enough for the NFL to draft quarterbacks effectively. Now you're saying that colleges have to pay 16-year-olds, project them forward, pay them millions of dollars, and be held hostage by the whims of college kids who are known to not be that responsible. And now, like, this is, to me, this has to be a wake-up call for the entire system. Like, this guy, 12 months ago, teams were thinking about tanking NFL seasons for this guy. 8 months ago, Tennessee was number 1 in the country, and he was the Heisman favorite. And they're now bickering over $1.4 million that could change that program and that guy's career. And that feels so stupid and so trivial to fans and the sports. And it's not making it a better on-field or entertainment product, period.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. Like, I agree. College football, college basketball, I enjoyed it a lot more 20 years ago. And I don't even have to go into the recent
pay the players illegally.
I don't have to go into the recent transfer portal changes or the NIL changes. Like, there are a lot of things that changed around this sport. But I think where I would push back against the way that Pablo framed that question is this a suggestion that the reason why it's worse is because we decided to try to reduce the exploitation. Like, I think the reason why it's worse is that we tried to reduce the exploitation while maintaining amateurism. Like, the problem isn't that we're no longer taking advantage of them. It's that we're moved in the direction that is less exploitative, but the institutions refuse to move in a direction that, like, actually, like, you guys are pro sports. Stop it. You're signing $1 billion TV deals. Stop pretending that you're not. Like, let's do this. Let's do it all the way.
Well, that, right? So, yes. So there is an obvious conflict that we also see across all of our lives between fairness, ethics, principle, and entertainment, whether people like something. Those are not the same thing. Of course, when it comes to how things should be, I am in favor of principle being actually a thing that we need to take quite seriously, because otherwise we're just living in, I don't need to belabor this point. What I'm saying, though, is if I were to tell you guys, hey, the real reality of what it's like to embrace pro sports is that, I don't know, University of Tennessee Volunteers, guess what you are? You're the Tennessee Titans Academy team. Mm-hmm. How is that polling, right? I just think that there are all of this. If all of this feels like you take some here to give there, yes, I get that from the market perspective. When it comes to whether people want to watch it, the reason, Domonique, they're trying to do both is because they know that wearing the costume, the literal school colors is the actual differentiated product they have.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with any of that, but I guess what I don't hear from you is you making the full assertion. You're dancing kind of around the point of saying that somehow going all the way to it being semi-pro or pro or minor leagues, that then saps it of whatever value that it has. That's the one that I think I don't know the answer to, and I'm not arguing that you're wrong, but you're not even making the assertion. Are you saying that you think that if we fully lean into this, that fans of the Tennessee Volunteers will no longer feel as passionate about this team? And I feel like I'm framing it in a way that feels like I'm saying that you're wrong. I'm not sure that you're wrong.
No. You've as you often are, you are noticing what I am not confident in. I don't know what this should be.
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, if you're going to tell me that you need to fake it, like, hey, you're the Tennessee Volunteers with a salary cap, with contracts, with all of that, cool. And you get to wear the costume, but functionally, we are dispensing with the myth short of the costume that Charlie was referring to, by the way, which is, of course, Domonique, as you lived it, right? It is, are these guys actual students? Yeah. Are they in class with your kids? Are they suffering and doing the same that you are? They never have been quite that, obviously. But when Kravitz is making motions in his little box as the guy who might actually be the closest thing to a poll sample here, I'm curious, like, I think you got to pay these guys. I think contracts are inevitable by the gravity of all of this logic. I just think the costs are that the pie gets smaller.
Yeah.
Frankly.
And look, like college football is going to have passionate fan bases no matter what. That's just like what the SEC and the Big Ten is. But the fact that you are going to have a bunch of hired guns, the rivalries are inherently going to mean less. The conference realignments already changed what college football is. And if we're being quite frank, this first iteration of the larger college football playoff was terrible. It was terrible. It was much less interesting than the BCS, the bowl systems, the smaller tournament. And that's not to say that has anything to do with paying the players, but it's just a coincidence and worth noting that as these rivalries are being rinsed of their authenticity, that players are moving around more and more, that there are no rules. The sport that was never about the quality, that was about like getting to know the players, getting to care about these teams that change every 4 years, that college football nostalgia is likely gone for good and not coming back.
Yeah, it maybe you enjoyed it less, but it was definitely more profitable.
It sucked.
It was definitely more profitable, which I think you're conflating a couple of things. I don't think that the change in NIL and the change in transferring is the reason why the college football playoff this year wasn't as engaging. There still were, like, if you would have gone back to a BCS model or a 4-team playoff, like, it still would have been just as high quality or low quality, however you want to say it, of football, and just as entertaining. Expanding it because of profitability is a problem. And I've been resisting with all the fibers in my being to go to one of my hobby horses in this conversation, but you keep teeing it up, man. Like, this is what happens. It's the professionalization of everything, trickling all the way down.
And this is two of your hobby horses.
That's why
it's also a trade-off.
Yes, it is also a trade-off. That is why you said this is a perfect topic for me. I didn't realize
it's also about culture.
It is also about culture. It's everything. It's all my things. It's all my things, guys. And I feel so right and so informed on this particular topic.
And absolutes are for idiots.
Well, that's
and
everything.
Children.
That's everything. You're just saying all my hobby horses now.
With this, all
and
it's
about someone being late to something. So.
Fair point. Now I have no more horses.
And quarterbacks thinking they're management and not players.
Oh gosh! All right, we're done with this topic, obviously, because you guys have pulled all of my hobby horses out. I don't got any more horses to hobby, thanks to you two jerks.
No, Domonique, you know what they are now? They're employee horses.
That's a perfect out. You are a well-trained media gas bag. I appreciate it. Let's go to basketball then, since you guys want to step on all my hobby horses.
Oh man, you'll get You'll get into plenty of reruns as we talk about the NBA playoffs. Don't worry, there's plenty of time. Okay, so for this, I didn't want to lock us into like classic matchup talk, just who versus who. I really want to go around and ask you guys, what are the playoff storylines you are most interested in when you look forward to this? Like, what are you actually going to be watching for? What are you going to be reading about in a week? Pablo, do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I am a big fan of truly polling around the New York Knicks. And I say that not just because I live in New York City, because I'm within walking distance of Madison Square Garden. And I don't even just say that because I saw Stan Van Gundy, a quote from him being sent in a group chat of my friends from high school who are all mad because Stan Van Gundy, brother of Jeff Van Gundy, former Knicks coach, who again clung to the leg of a certain NBA player like a koala during a fight.
Alonzo Mourning, right?
Yes, correct. Stan Van Gundy called Knicks fans fair weather fans. Fair weather fans. Something fascinating has happened where last year the expectations were not so high, such that everything that happened felt like a thing that made Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson, after being eliminated from the postseason, go up and down 8th Avenue shaking hands with people as if this was a championship parade of a different kind. This season, because the expectations have been higher and because empirically, Charlie, one of my favorite stats has simply been that the Knicks have not a single win against the teams that they're going to need to beat. They're like 0-10 right now, right? Give me it's Cavs, it's Celtics, it's who else is it in that group?
I believe it's the Pacers as well.
Fact check that for me as I continue on. But the point is, they can't beat the great teams. And so everybody is walking into the postseason preemptively irritated, and it's just a beautiful laboratory for what it's like when you get a taste of something and you don't even get to savor it. It's already kind of done, barring a run that is seemingly statistically impossible, if not just outright, obviously illogical.
First of all, Charlie, don't fact check. This is my show. You don't get to tell people on my show.
They've beaten the Pacers. That was my bad.
Thank you for fact checking.
What to look up? We ain't fact checking nothing else. Edit that out. So, get one of your producers to fact check that. Mostly, I didn't expect you to go to the Knicks because I guess you quit Knicks fandom or you got ousted as a Knicks fan.
That's one of my hobby horses is complaining about how I'm not a Knicks fan.
You aren't. You grew up a Knicks fan, but you decided to follow your buddy Maury or I guess it wasn't Maury at the time. It was because you ruined.
Thank you for fact checking that, Charlie. Sam Hinkie.
Yeah, it's because you ruined Sam Hinkie's career by telling everybody about his tanking situation.
He bet on Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons.
That's a bad move. But yeah,
one of those bets, by the way.
Flying car.
Okay. You cut that out.
Nope.
Thank you.
Leave it in. Yeah, I mean, the Knicks, I find the Knicks somewhat interesting. It would be fun for them to have a deep run because it was really cool. It was one of those teams that we all really appreciated and enjoyed last year, except for Pablo. But I think to your point about the expectations, they went to make a move to go get Karl Anthony Towns being the big kind of piece that was going to change everything. And the one thing that it was kind of, I feel bad putting it all on Karl Anthony Towns because certainly not all on Karl Anthony Towns. But the thing about the Knicks that we like was that they were a gritty, like underachieving team with low expectations. And that's certainly not who they are now.
I think that's not totally right. Towns he's been awesome. He's had like the best year of his career. To me, this is, if you're going to question why the Knicks aren't as good as we thought they might be, it's that Tibbs has run these guys into the ground over the regular season in a way that like everyone is sort of dancing around like this might be a really early exit. Brunson's already hurt. Guys have been so banged up this year. Towns has been one of the few bright spots. It's trading 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges and not having like, I think you could make a real argument that the way that Dante DiVincenzo fit with them was more important than what Bridges has done for this team. So that's when I look at the Knicks. It's easy to pick Towns, but that's not actually
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I guess my argument, and I think I said this, maybe I didn't say it clearly enough, or maybe you're doing the thing that you do to me sometimes where you pretend like I say something that I didn't say. I was saying
I know
that,
what you really meant.
that it's not Karl Anthony Towns, but he is a representation of the opposite. Like, it was the thing that we expected to happen to this team. It wasn't Towns, but now they're in a situation where it feels like they're a team with expectations. You can blame Tibbs for running him into the ground, but normally those Tibbs teams are good at defense, and they aren't that.
But there's something as a former Knicks fan that Knicks fans love, which is valorizing and being nostalgic for teams that are less talented than the one you have, but felt like they had way better vibes. And like that was last year's team.
Right.
Like to Charlie's point about like, and the polling of all of this, like, do you regret Mikal Bridges? Do you regret Karl Anthony Towns? We are going to get to the point where we are, I mean, again, in the way that last season's Knicks team was not a championship team, but kind of felt like something close to one. There is already, I think, a nostalgia for what that felt like in the way that, you know, when the Carmelo Anthony trade happened, people are like, man, you know who I really miss right now? Wilson Chandler. That was like an actual thought that lots of people had because
Isaiah
they missed.
Hartenstein now, is that who that is?
Yes.
And, Dante DiVincenzo. I mean,
Yes.
it's just a story to me about switching tiers. Like, they were in a lower tier where the expectation for that lower tier is something different, and the decisions that they made in the offseasons, which is why I pointed to Towns, because he was the biggest of those decisions, where like, we're moving up to the championship contender tier, and they clearly aren't. No matter how we try to look at it, they aren't that. They just aren't going to be.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I would like to point out DiVincenzo and Hartenstein are like legitimate losses.
Yeah.
Like way above average role players. Hartenstein coming back took the Thunder defense to a complete another level, which is obviously the linchpin of the best team in the entire NBA. One of the things I think is funny, Pablo, is the Pistons have sort of taken the Knicks lunch, and they're going to play them in this first round series. Like, they're the team with the homegrown star. I know Brunson wasn't homegrown, but he came New York homegrown once he like chose to go there. They have Cade, and they have a bunch of lunatics who will fight anyone
They have
get around them.
They have Rochester, New York's own Isaiah.
Beef
they
stew?
have Beef stew. Isaiah Stewart, man. Yeah. They have all of the right kind of unhinged. And they have none of the expectations, which is...
They're a 90s Knicks team.
I know. Beef stew just trying to punch everyone is just... We look upon... I can't. Can we change from a different team? I can't keep accidentally referring to myself as we. I'm not. I can't. And
I weed all over the Commanders this year.
He did. He was. I mean, you have been a Commanders fan. You didn't leave them, though. So that's the thing. You were even with them when they sucked. You didn't leave them like Pablo did. He can't we.
Yeah, but I talked about how much I hated them.
You did. That's fine.
That's
that's called normal fanning.
That's
fine. That's normal fanning.
You got one, Domonique?
Nah. Oh, yeah.
Nah, I'm good.
No. I was looking at the Knicks playoff run last year to figure out who the Knicks are going to be this year, because when the Pistons have taken their spot as the underachieving, lovable, gritty blue collar team, I couldn't quite find a perfect comp for them. So that's what I was saying no to. I was answering a question I had in my own head. But the thing that I am most interested in, and don't get mad at me, it's the old guys in the West. Like, I feel like we've been trying to turn the page in the NBA for a number of different seasons, and I would like to be the like cool, smart basketball fan that's like, you know what I really can't wait to see? I want to see SGA take it to the next level. I do want to see that too, but honestly, if you made me choose between teams that I had to watch, I want to see what LeBron and Steph going to do. Like, I want to see if those teams are going to be good enough, or if the players around them, and I guess it's not LeBron's team anymore now that Luka's there, but still, we care very much about LeBron's contributions. But if the players around them, and if they can still lift their teams to a level to make them championship contenders, I think of the two teams, I believe more in the Lakers than I do in the Golden State Warriors making a deeper run. But still, they have guys like Steph and guys like Luka and LeBron, where earlier in this season, you had JJ Redick to this story where he goes from being a podcaster to really well respected, or not accomplished, but successful so far.
Yeah,
Coach,
won 50 games.
You would think that heading into these playoffs, that would be a bigger question. But it doesn't feel like something that any of us are even talking about or concerned about is the fact that JJ Redick is headed into his first playoff. So all of that stuff to me is really interesting. I feel like I cheated by naming two teams, but
you did. You absolutely
I grouped them together. It matters.
I think the Redick thing is interesting, but to me, he cleared so many hurdles post-Luka trade when they just started locking down and playing better defense. It's like this guy motivated a team that did not have the horses to protect the rim, to win games, to get a 3 seed in a really competitive conference by guarding people. And the last 2 coaches of LeBron teams had to watch him be a statue for the entire regular season. So to me, that like actually tracks. Like, I don't really think there are questions that this guy is going to be able to adjust and be able to scheme to help them be good. But I'm also with you. The Lakers, I think, look, when you add the second or third best player in the NBA to your team midseason, you sort of have a higher ceiling than the Warriors adding Jimmy Butler.
So we've now mentioned the 3 teams that in real life I'm going to be most interested in watching, right? The team, though, speaking of coaching, speaking of like what it means when a new coach without any resume gets buy-in to the point where everybody in the organization trusts them implicitly and explicitly. I just want to know where Mike Malone and Calvin Booth are going to be watching the games. I want to be watching them. Can someone start podcasting with them, please? Because that, to me, from a pure just like palace intrigue psychology experiment story, is unprecedented. And if the Nuggets make a finals run, I just have to imagine that you will never have a clear example of a coach rooting against the team he was coaching literal days ago.
Can we build out this podcast? I would like Nico also a part of this podcast of guys that I.
Which one?
Oh yeah, the Dallas trade Nico, not the college Nico or not the NFL Nico, because like I know that. I mean, I guess I'm speaking for myself. Maybe I'm projecting a little bit. If I was Nico, I'd be rooting so hard against the Lakers. So hard. Like, please, first round exit so badly. I steered it back to the Lakers talk. Sorry about that. We can go back to the Nuggets like you wanted to go.
No, but rooting against the team that you ostensibly have in every other way a real affection for. I think the Nuggets, Domonique, is just, it's... I mean, I don't know, Kravitz. For you, like, we are testing in a real way what coaching actually means, let alone GMing, which is kind of obviously important here, too, because Calvin Booth was a literal GM. And yes, his name of his show should have the word Booth in it, like in the booths or something like that. Still workshopping it. But yes, it's just we've never tested it like this before.
I'm so glad you said this, Pablo, because with Jokic, this is the perfect test case. When he is on the floor, they are the best offense of all time. When he is off the floor, they are the 30th offense in the NBA. Dead last. The worst. He is like I don't even know how to say it. Like, he is a totally overused term. He's a genius. He is the offense.
Yes.
I genuinely don't think it matters except for the fact that if he's motivated or not. And so I guess this is the question. Is someone who's this great in his prime with an assistant coach that he knows well, is this going to check them in or check them out? And Domonique, I'd wonder what you think about that. Does that actually happen with athletes, that they see this going on in the chaos and it could actually, like you've talked about noise normally being in the locker room, but this is the head coach and the GM being fired a week before the playoffs.
Yeah, noise and distractions are normally BS to me. The head coach of the team does not quite qualify as noise or distraction. The GM maybe, because like you're not like making any acquisitions at this point. You're not doing a whole bunch, but like the coach, that's huge. And we might as well throw Memphis in this conversation too and add Taylor Jenkins, which
they're not winning.
I know, but I just mean it's another conversation about moving on from the coach late in the season. We'll see what it means. But I think that there might be some like added boost to a team that really doesn't like their coach. They may not be playing up to the level of their ability if they don't really like their coach. Removing him alone, I think, does create some motivation for the team to step up, but I don't think that's enough. That's a short-term bump. That's not going to carry them through the playoffs. And we don't even know that that's true. Like, that they wanted him out. It seemed like there's a bunch of issues with everyone there. Like, it's not completely clear that they all feel emboldened now that he's gone.
The story that I found the funniest was Mike Malone was fiery and upset about being fired. No. How is that a report? You're getting to coach one of the 3 best players since Michael Jordan.
You won a title. You already won one title.
2 years ago. Yeah. And they were the favorite to win the title last year and lost in Game 7 in the second round. And you get fired. And you watch the chance to coach Jokic for the next 5 years go out the window. You're supposed to be like, oh, thank you, Calvin. I'll take this well.
Well, I mean, not thank you, Calvin. Calvin's gone too.
Well, I think he got fired first. And then they fired Calvin.
Oh, wait, hold on. Now I want, even more than I did 5 minutes ago, I want Calvin Booth's podcast. Just the idea of Calvin was like, thank God that's over. And then got a call in 2 minutes.
I love that. That's like an umpire who thinks that there's like a pitcher has like pine tar in his glove. And he's like, the pitcher thinks he's dealing. And then he walks out. He takes the glove. He looks at everything. He just tosses him. See you, Calvin. You thought you got away with it.
I wanted, before we move on, I would like to change something about this going forward. One thing that I've realized that I don't really like, we are setting up all these topics, but nobody is putting anything on the line. Like, none of us have said, like, I think the Lakers are actually going to win the title. I think that the Warriors are going to get to the conference playoffs. I think Denver is going to be carried by Jokic. Like, we're all asking all these questions, but I kind of wish that somebody would go ahead and drop them and say something that they really believe about this. I mean, the Knicks are going to lose in the first round. You got it?
The Knicks are losing in the first round.
There we go.
The Knicks are losing in the first round.
My take was that Memphis is not winning. That wasn't bold enough for you?
No, it wasn't bold enough for me. You know what, though? I know I'm not supposed to say this, but I enjoyed Josh trolling. I was at his first game in Miami after the warning. And he first did that foolishness with the gun, and I was like, come on, Ja, you can't be doing that. And then he did it again, and I was like, all right, Ja, it's kind of funny. And now he escalated to throwing grenades in the crowd. I get why I'm not supposed to be, like, in favor of this, and I'm not. I disagree with it.
Can your take, Domonique, be the weapon that Ja Morant will use next? What weapon is he going to upgrade to?
Nope.
He's gone from...
Nope. I'm not encouraging it. I feel like I've already gone too far on my Disney airwaves.
I have him with the Halo energy sword next.
I was thinking the exact same. Energy sword is the only thing that came to mind.
He's got to be like laughing now. Like it's if he takes it to something that's sillier, like if he does like a jousting duel type of thing, like he gives you a Zorro sword.
I think somersault immediately into the gun position. Like you can somersault in Call of Duty and Halo. Like barrel roll, is that the more militaristic?
Yeah,
term?
I think somersault connotes gymnastics. Maybe, I don't know.
You know what I meant. So all right, here's my scalding hot take. You're gonna love this, Dominique.
All right, give it to me.
Really putting my nuts on the table here. If Jaylen Brown's knee is okay, the Celtics are going to roll everyone in the East, including the Cavs. You like that one?
I don't. It's not scalding hot. I guess it's, yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you probably are. The interesting thing about that is how good are the Cavs really? Because I think the way that they're playing has been really good. And I am like most people, I think, in that I still don't really believe in them to the level that their record suggests that I should. So that's the huge question surrounding the Eastern Conference playoffs to me is the 1 seed actually a true 1 seed, or is it just a result of everyone else being like, hey, let's get healthy for the playoffs and make a run?
The Cavs, though, it's funny. Like, they're in the annals of like regular season history. And Kravitz going to ask you to do the thing that Dominique does not want you to do, which is fact check me. But it's like the Thunder and the Cavs at a certain point, I don't know if it is actually finishing this way, but they were having like unprecedented seasons offensively and defensively, respectively, right? So the Cavs offense, are we at the point where like they are being commemorated in some like 82 game sample ways, or no, did that fall off?
The shooting fell off a little bit, but they're still like almost a +10 net rating. So like they're really good offensively.
What kind of rating are we?
Net rating. Net rating.
What kind of rating?
Net rating.
Oh,
Net
okay.
rating.
Okay, just making sure. I wasn't sure what we were rating right now.
Because that's I have thoughts about that statistic as well, and I don't have the.
I'm
Cavs
playing
at number
hurt
one.
here. I hear a full echo in my ear at all times. Just give me a break.
You hear a full echo in your ear? What does that what does that have to do with you actually saying words?
Because I say one word, then hear it as I'm saying the next word.
Oh, so you said here and then said here again because you were saying here.
Yeah, it's a little inception.
Well, you're doing a great job, man. You're fighting through the adversity.
Apparently not.
You are.
Until you busted out nut rating, I had no idea that you were dealing with that.
Well played.
No,
Well played.
not well played. I don't appreciate it. We will not pay any attention to that. We're moving right along to our next topic. What about Giannis? What? What are you laughing at? Oh, did you have?
Nothing.
You wanted to add on to Pablo? That's what you were doing.
I had a terrible pun. Go ahead.
Good. I don't know. Did you have anything else on the Cavs? Like, I should I believe in them? I guess is the question. Does it? You got?
No.
Yeah. Why not?
No, I mean they just lost to the Pacers by 2. They just beat the Knicks, and that feels like kind of exactly what these playoffs could be like.
But nobody cares. Nobody cares about these late. I mean, the Thunder had some ugly losses. Also, like no one is actually the number 1 seeds losing at the end of the season is not something that I have any concern about. I do though. Just I feel like my trepidation when it comes to the Cavs is mostly about Donovan Mitchell, which is an ongoing conversation for me and Charlie, where Charlie says I'm wrong.
Well, so the biggest thing. Well, yes, you are wrong. Donovan Mitchell is very good.
See, that is you doing that thing that you do. Never said he wasn't very good. Never said he was.
The Knicks should not trade for Donovan Mitchell. You can't win with that guy.
Oh, gosh,
No, but so we have all this stuff about when can NBA teams win and when do you believe that they're good and do they have a good enough guy? And like, fine, I'm fine not being on the vanguard for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah. That like on paper, we know in high leverage situations we believe in the Celtics' talent more, and that's sort of what the NBA playoffs is. What's interesting is I have none of those trepidations about picking the Oklahoma City Thunder to make the finals, even though they're in the same position. Right. Shea has not been as good of a playoff player as he has been in the regular season, even though I know he averaged 30 points per game in the postseason last year. He was clearly not as good as Luka or Kyrie in their second-round series. But I believe with that defense, with how deep they are, even without a true secondary scorer in Jalen Williams or Chet Holmgren, that those guys are so good and that team is so deep. Like, I would actually be shocked if that's not at least a conference finals team, but most likely the Western representative in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I think this question becomes a lot more about the competition than it does about the team itself. I think, well, I guess it's still partially about the team, but when I look at the East, I see a defending championship team in the Celtics that, like, it doesn't feel the same when you look at the Western Conference. You don't see the same type of opposition for this exceedingly deep roster. The question, I think, is where you'll see coaching adjustments. They'll find ways to slow down SGA. And to your point, like everyone's game plan is going to be force someone else to beat you. So that's going to be the question is if they come up against a team that has the ability to limit SGA to the degree that they have to rely on one of those two not quite secondary scorers, will they be able to step up? Or I guess also the question is, will their defense be good enough that that's not even a problem? So, yeah, I think that's the question that we have on the West, which when you look at the Western Conference competitors, I don't see anybody that is as capable of creating problems for the Thunder as I do when I look at the Eastern Conference competitors for the Cavs.
Oh, for the Cavs. Yeah, well, the Celtics, yeah.
You know, it's like, sorry, go ahead. You got excited, like you was about to jump on me like I was saying something wrong. I want to know what you thought I was saying.
What I was going to jump in on was just the idea of like how the Thunder are going to test some like, I would say NBA truisms that have eroded somewhat over time, But when you're talking about they're a really great defensive team, they're really deep, and they don't have a clear second best player. I mean, Charlie, this is the stuff that like we have been theorizing. Is the era of each of those truisms over? And we haven't gotten there yet, even though we've gotten tastes here and there, right? Oh, the Mavericks or the Pistons win a title. Oh, we don't really. So the Raptors, is it really do they have big three? Like those questions have been tested before. But this one, the question I have is if the Thunder flame out, they are so patience oriented. And by flame out, I mean like short of the conference finals, let's say, to be just reasonable about it. They're so patience oriented that do they then finally do the thing where they take their 9 million draft picks and they couple them with one of their young players and they get an obvious superstar?
Yeah.
That to me is the real question, obviously, that everybody in the NBA is waiting for.
I mean, that's a fascinating side, but I'm also wondering if they win, let's say they win it all. This is the counter to this. Adam Silver is like, I want the league to be more like the NFL. I want parity. I'm happy that we have a different champion every year. In a sport that now is essentially hard capped with the second apron, where teams are struggling to have two max guys and be able to build out a competent roster without them because you have to hit on these later draft picks, which are really a crapshoot. No team will be set up better for the next decade than the Oklahoma City Thunder. And maybe with a bigger disparity than any other team in professional sports, period. They're going to be holding a lottery ticket where they have this incredibly deep team and superstar players, and they can continue to replenish with top 10 picks, legitimately top 10 picks. They could have the 76ers pick in this draft. They could have the 6th pick. They could add a VJ Edgecombe or a Derek Queen. It's distinctly possible that in a loaded draft year after year, they're just going to get these guys on cost-controlled contracts and then trade out the pieces that are replaceable. And so to me, that's almost like, yeah, they could blow it up this offseason and trade for a Giannis if Milwaukee flames out in the first round. Or they could just be set up to never be in contract hell and be the one team that can consistently compete for championships for 10 years.
Yeah, but
10 plus years is on the table.
Sometimes I get caught up in the hype of some of these situations, but this seems like the most obvious time where I know that I should not get caught up in the hype of this situation, because I recognize quite clearly to me that you're always like you don't get to cheat the system. You're always like optimizing for something. And sometimes we're not sure what you're optimizing for, but it seems clear that if they go the route that you're suggesting, you must believe that you're going to get these draft picks right. And I know they have enough that they can afford to get some wrong, but they're going to have to get them right regularly enough that I think it's unlikely that that's a way to like have some sort of sustained, I mean, not even dominance, but like, yeah, success. At some point, you find your guys and you pay them, and you pay the cost for it eventually, and your team is dismantled. But that's one of the truisms that I'm not sure I'm really ready to let go of. I don't think that you can run this like a college football program and just cycle through guys and keep nailing these picks.
They keep doing it.
No, but they're not winning championships, Charlie. You're saying in order to win championships. That's different. And basketball, and there's another thing about basketball is like the players that are that good, they don't come around every draft. They don't come around every 4 or 5 drafts.
100%.
So like it's really hard. It's really, really hard to do that regularly. I think the way that you do this is you keep cycling through the picks until you find a guy that really is that guy. And then you just set yourself up to overpay, and eventually you have to blow the roster up. But you do it that way, right?
They found that guy in the trade for Paul George. They got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And then with the draft picks they were able to find, it was Chet Holmgren. It's Jalen Williams with a second lottery pick. It's another Jalen Williams who down the stretch has been like a very good backup big. They find Kason Wallace. They find everyone over and over and over again. You don't get to say that they don't have a true secondary scorer while also he's drafted 3 MVPs and traded for another.
Okay. So I mean, that the point. So you're saying to me that you believe that they have some special ability to be right more often than other people. If you believe that,
Yes, Sam Presti has a special ability to be more right than any other talent evaluator in the NBA.
Well then what are we talking about? It doesn't matter.
You would say the same thing about Ozzie Newsome.
Yes,
you would say that. He is more right than other people. But somehow with Sam Presti, this is breaking your brain.
Ozzie never was able to find a quarterback, and the Ravens haven't dominated Super Bowl. So, I'm saying that there are other things that go into it than that, and I think...
And Presti thought that Kevin Durant could be a number one option when he's really a bus rider. We know. People make mistakes.
He stopped being serious, guys. All right. We're done with this show when Charlie devolves into nonsensory.
Charlie's nut rating has been skyrocketing in the last
I finally am not hearing an echo, and I'm back, dudes. Let's go.
You're just saying crazy things. That's all. That's it.
Well, here's another crazy thing. The play-in...
That's not
and
crazy.
Get rid of it. This is the dumbest idea in the world. I can't believe I'm
now we're at Charlie's hobby horse land on the NBA's gimmicks. He loves it.
It's not even that. Why is Adam Silver just the gimmick commissioner now? I want 20 of the 30 teams in the playoff. I have to watch a 35-win team for a week before I get to watch the playoffs.
And guess what? The stats don't go anywhere. They don't even count.
You're just stoking the Charlie. Don't stoke him.
Where do the stats go, Adam? Where do they go? That's all I'm asking.
Oh gosh.
Here's some great moments in play in history. LeBron pretending he saw 3 rims. Zion Williamson having a microcosm of his entire career and dominating for an 8-minute stretch of a fourth quarter before a hamstring injury. We all left being like, maybe next year will be the year that he's actually in shape and not injured. This is so dumb that the league is doing this. You want to talk about a cash grab? It's already insane that more than half of the league makes the playoffs to begin with. And we have these first-round series in an Eastern Conference that are just lambs to a slaughter.
Hold on. Can I get... Are you done? I don't want to cut you off. I wanted to...
Make it a 16 playoff where the number 1 seed... Or the number 1 and 2 seeds in each conference get by.
I agree with you. I appreciate it. I'm happy that you got that off your chest. But... you also have to acknowledge that this year's playoffs is one of the more interesting and exciting playoffs that we've had in a long time. So if you're going to kill Adam Silver and call him the gimmick commissioner, you have to appreciate that the alterations that they have made that pushed us away from understanding that the conference finals was a foregone conclusion to a situation now where we do have some actual intrigue in some of these series. While yes, the play-in game does feel like a nonsense farce, but you can't crap on all of his gimmicks without appreciating that the playoffs this year are more interesting heading into them than they have been in a long time.
Super psyched for the playoffs. I just want it known that when John Morant throws a proximity mine at midcourt during a play-in game, that matters. And it should be recorded somewhere as opposed to where it goes now, which is being memory holed into Adam Silver's secret drawer of stuff that were invented for no reason.
Can you get suspended for your actions in a play-in game?
It's like no. It's like international waters.
Is it the Purge? No, is the play-in game the Purge where you can do anything?
Oh gosh, you guys get off my man Adam, man.
If Stephen A is covering a Lakers play-in game, can he swing on him immediately?
My man,
because it doesn't exist.
My man Adam's doing a good job, guys. Get off his back.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Playing game still sucks.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
I agree. The playing game is not something I like. And you're speaking my language when you're talking about reducing playoff game or teams that make the playoffs. I've always thought that was absurd that half the teams in the NBA make the playoffs. Or more than half.
2/3.
Yeah, sorry. More than half.
If you're
including the play-in nonsense, which we're not including because it's international waters, as you guys have said.
Correct.
It's also you got to talk about this, what the play-in does when you have 20 teams that could potentially make the playoffs, and then it's really flattened odds for the bottom 4 teams in the lottery. It's what is the point of competing to just be in this play-in thing to get your?
Can we stop? We were excited about the playoffs. Can we stay excited about the playoffs?
I'm just saying he's building a system where he thought it would make it more competitive, but it's actually more do you really want to be in this part of the league? Yeah. Pablo was right all along. It should, if you're not.
Yes, Pablo was right.
He was.
I'm the one who said that the play-in game was garbage. Pablo doesn't get credit for that.
I'm just saying it's rules that incentivize tanking in certain ways where he thought it was where Phil Silver thought he was making it more competitive.
Yep. You should get a little punch card for making the play-in, like at a Jamba Juice. Like, congrats,
Yes.
you made the play-in, and you get one punch card, and then at the end of like 5 play-ins, you get like you get to redeem it for an actual playoff spot.
All right.
I love that.
We've reached the end of the proceedings now. We're now at the punch card. I thought you were going to say you could redeem it for a first round pick.
Oh, also
I just
good.
love that this is the Bulls' destiny to be holding up a punch card that said, "We employed one DeMar DeRozan for this long."
At least they aren't the Wizards.
Hey, we're about to capture the flag.
Oh, the saddest we of all. The saddest we of all.
Such a sad we.
Yeah.
All right, Pablo, I appreciate you joining us. Charlie Kravitz, thank you for all that you brought to the show today. It's been
I don't think I
fantastic.
should be thanked for this today.
Oh, I think it was great. Keep up the good work. Thank you guys. Thanks to all the great producers. We are out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.